Who did just that over 400 years ago. We're diving into the story of Francis de Sales, a man whose ideas on gentleness and purpose are honestly more relevant now than ever. And we've got to start with his most famous quote, one you've probably seen around: "Be who you are and be that well." It's just this beautiful, powerful invitation to be authentic. And it hits so hard because it taps into that thing we all want, right? To find our place and really live out our purpose. Now, it's easy to love the quote, but the story of the man who actually lived it, that's even more compelling. So, how did he get to this place of such profound peace and purpose? Well, let me tell you, his journey was anything but easy. So here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through the key chapters of his incredible life. His upbringing as the gentleman saint, a really tough period we're calling a soul on trial, how his heart was won by love, his game-changing idea of holiness for everyone, and of course, his lasting legacy. All right, first up, the gentleman saint. This nickname really tells you everything you need to know about the world he was born into. So, Francis de Sales was born in 1567. He's part of a noble family in Savoy, and his path in life seems totally paved for him. His father had these huge plans. Francis was going to have a prestigious political career, the whole 9 yards. And for a while, Francis played the part. He even got a doctorate in law. But underneath it all, he felt this deep calling that was completely at odds with his dad's dreams. He secretly wanted to dedicate his entire life to God. This tension, this pull between his family's plan and his own heart's desire, that really set the stage for everything to come. And if you think that internal conflict was tough, it was about to be completely overshadowed by a much deeper, much more terrifying struggle. He was about to enter a period that can only be described as a soul on trial. So, while he was at university studying theology, Francis gets completely wrapped up in one of the biggest, most intense debates of the day, predestination. This was the idea that God had already decided who was going to heaven and who was going to hell, long before anyone was even born. Now, for a deeply sensitive and faithful person like Francis, this wasn't some abstract theological puzzle. Oh, no. It became a personal, agonizing torment. He was absolutely consumed by the terrifying thought that, no matter what he did, no matter how he lived, he might already be destined for damnation. And this anxiety just wrecked him, pushing him right to the edge of total despair. And then the breakthrough. At his absolute lowest point, he makes this incredible act of surrender. He basically decides, okay, even if I am damned, I'm going to spend every single second I have left loving God anyway. And in that moment, that instant of just letting go, all the fear just vanished. It was replaced by the one unshakable belief that would define the rest of his life. God is love, period. And this personal revelation didn't just stay personal. It became his public mission. His own heart had been won by love, and now he was going to use that very same principle to win over everyone else. So, after he finally becomes a priest, a decision that totally went against his father's wishes, by the way, Francis gets sent on this incredibly dangerous mission. He goes to a region called Chablais, which had mostly converted to Calvinism, and the atmosphere was just hostile. He was rejected, people mocked him, he was even physically attacked. It was not a welcoming place. But here's where he does something totally different, completely revolutionary for his time. See, the usual method back then was all about confrontation, harsh arguments, public debates, trying to prove the other side wrong. Francis threw that whole playbook out the window. Instead, he chose gentle persuasion. He chose patience and clarity. He wasn't there to win an argument, he was there to win a heart. So what did that actually look like? Well, when people literally slammed their doors in his face, he had to get creative. He started writing these short, clear, gentle little explanations of his faith on slips of paper. And then he would just slide them under people's doors. I mean, think about it. It's like a 16th century newsletter campaign. And slowly, quietly, this persistent act of gentle communication started to work. It began to cut through all that hostility, and over time, thousands of people's hearts started to open up again. And this incredible success just proved his core belief. You can't argue someone into changing their mind, but you can invite them to open their heart. And as Francis himself said, a heart won by love is won forever. His next major contribution was just as groundbreaking, but this time it was for the people who were already believers. He introduced this really radical idea: holiness for everyone. You really have to get this. Back in the 17th century, the common thinking was that being truly holy was reserved for a special few. Priests, monks, nuns, people who left the world to live in a monastery. Francis came along and said, nope, not true. He taught that everyone, a mother raising kids, a soldier on the battlefield, a merchant in the marketplace, is called to a deep, meaningful spiritual life right in the middle of their messy, ordinary, everyday lives. And he didn't just preach this idea, he actually gave people the tools to live it out. He wrote 2 spiritual classics that are still read today. The first, Introduction to the Devout Life, is basically a super practical, step-by-step handbook for finding God when you've got a million things going on. The second one, Treatise on the Love of God, goes a lot deeper, exploring the very nature of the soul's relationship with God. These books were instant bestsellers. So all of this, his gentle way of being, his incredible writing, his radical idea that everyone is included, it all came together to cement his lasting legacy. So here's just a quick look at the major points in his life. From finally being ordained in 1593 to becoming the Bishop of Geneva, every step he took just gave him a bigger platform to share his message of a gentle, inclusive holiness right up until his peaceful death in 1622. So it's really no surprise, when you look at his life's work, that he's the patron saint of writers and journalists. That's a total nod to how he innovatively used the written word to connect with people. And he's also the patron saint of the deaf, which is just a beautiful testament to his incredible patience and his commitment to finding new ways to reach every single person. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started. But hearing this quote again now, after understanding his whole story, the internal battles he fought, the opposition he faced, his absolute commitment to love, it just hits different, doesn't it? It's not just a nice little saying. It's the hard-won wisdom of a man who truly found his purpose, and then spent his entire life helping others find theirs. So, we'll leave you with this to think about. Francis de Sales lived in a time of intense conflict, a lot like our own world today. And his answer wasn't to get louder or to argue harder. It was to speak more gently. So it leaves us with a pretty powerful question. In a world full of loud opinions and angry voices, what could you win with just a little more gentleness?